and we're here today to tell you about the Workforce Center. It seems like not a lot of people are aware of what we do at the Workforce Center until they need our services, and then they come in and they're like, oh, you guys are the best kept secret in town. And we don't want to be a secret, so please share what you hear today. Let everybody know what we do at the Workforce Center. Just a little background. Before there were workforce centers, there were several different service agencies in the community located in different buildings. So if somebody needed a service and they couldn't get it where they were at, we would tell them to go down the road to this other building and get the service. And then maybe they were sent somewhere else from there. So the concept of the Workforce Center was to put these agencies under one roof in one building so they could literally just maybe walk across the hall and get the service that they were looking for. So now there are 48 workforce centers in the state of Minnesota, and when they started developing the Workforce Center concept, they wanted to locate workforce centers on college campuses. And fortunately for us, Rainy River Community College gave us space to be located on their campus. And it's worked out really well because a lot of the people we serve are students, so it makes it really easy for them to access the Workforce Center. And then the partnerships we have with the college and providing services there. So if you look at the workforce centers in different communities, you're not going to see the same agencies there. But if you look at our Workforce Center in International Falls, Sean did a wonderful job of mentioning 3 of them, which are here today. Beth Ann and Ginger Rameau's work for AEOA, and Beth Ann's going to speak today. And then we're going to give you a little information about vocational rehabilitation. And then Alyssa and Tammy are going to speak on behalf of Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training. So those are the 4 agencies located there. We also have other providers that come and use our services or our buildings, such as services for the blind and some other agencies. So with that, what I want to do first is just give you a little background as far as when someone comes into the Workforce Center, what they're going to see. And if a universal customer walks in, say a job seeker or someone looking for services, we try to find out what their needs are and then direct them to the proper agency or service. And if they come in, first thing they'll receive is staff assistance. So we'll determine what they need, and then we may help them get registered on Minnesota Works to look for work. They may need help getting a resume together, career assessments, anything related to job seeking. You know, that's a lot of the things people come in for. So after that, if they need further assistance, we would refer them to the proper agency that they needed services for. The other thing is we have equipment at the Workforce Center for the job seeker to use, and often it's considered the job seeker office. So if they needed a copy machine, a printer, a fax machine, a phone to contact employers, anything related to the programs and services at the Workforce Center, they can use our equipment. Okay. The other thing is, of course, we provide a lot of job search assistance. We have a resource library there. They can check out books. And of course, we have a lot of online resources that we refer them to. And some career assessments, which Tammy and Alyssa will probably talk a little bit more about. And then another thing we offer are workshops on job search skills such as interviewing preparation, resume writing, filling out employment applications, networking, career exploration, and these can be done in a group or on an individual basis. Okay, so there's a lot of different services they can get there. One of the big things that both job seekers and employers use is our MinnesotaWorks.net job bank, which is a wonderful tool for both the job seeker and the employer to connect them. And we have a pretty big population in International Falls in the county that uses Minnesota Works. So in regards to the employer, you pay for this service through your federal unemployment tax that you pay to the state. So you should use this service because based on that, it's free to you. You don't have to pay any extra fee. And it gets used a lot by job seekers, so they're going to see your job openings. But the thing we want to focus on right now, there's several services on there, but I just want to show you quickly how you can post your own job order on there.
Oh, I got locked out. Timed out.
Oh, you'll put it back in. So there's a job seeker side and there's an employer side. And you can see, like right now, there's almost 90,000 positions posted on minnesotaworks.net. So as an employer, you can register. They'll verify you're an employer in Minnesota, so you can use the site. And then the job seekers know you're a legitimate business posting your job. And if you go to post a job order, you can put an ID in there if you track your jobs by an ID number or a name, but otherwise it's not a required field. So you can go to next. And it gives you the different sections to fill out. If you're a registered employer and you click on job location, it will enter your information for you, but of course you can edit that if you need to. And then how to apply, they give you several different options. You check the ones you want and it will fill in the information that you registered with, or if you need to put a different address in there, you can do that as well. There I am. And then the job information section, this is really the heart of your job order. But if you see up here, you can identify if you want your job just to be a regular job order, you know, that would be of interest to everybody. If you indicate it as you're a veteran-friendly employer, if a veteran has registered, a flag will appear next to your job order to show that you are a veteran-friendly employer. You can also indicate if it's an apprenticeship, an internship, or volunteer work. And I always emphasize to put those words in your job title, so when the job seeker is looking at the job postings, the first thing they'll see is the job title with internship in it or apprenticeship, so they can identify those things. And then from there, anything with an asterisk is a required field. So you go ahead and put those in. If you need help developing a job description, we'll be more than happy to help you with that. If you go down the slide a little bit more, it gives you all the information you need to fill in your job order. Okay? Good? Yeah. And then the last section on there, none of these fields are required, but if you want to share this information with the job seeker, you can put in education that's required, any license, the wage, but those are all optional. But the most important thing too when you're done is you have to make sure you click post on the internet, otherwise it's not going to be out there for the job seeker to see. Okay, it'll just sit there pending, and you'll think it's posted and it's not. Okay? So after you post your job, it is on the job bank immediately for a job seeker to see, and Alyssa will show you when they go to search for jobs, if they put in the zip code for International Falls. Oh, we're in the wrong one.
I don't know what happened.
Okay. She'll go in as if she's a job seeker, so she can look at the job postings. So as soon as you say post on internet and a job seeker clicks on search for jobs, it's going to search within 25 miles of International Falls. She hits search, and it found 68 jobs within 25 miles of International Falls. Your job will go to the top because it was the most recent one posted. The system allows you to post a job for 180 days. I encourage you to do it for 30 days or less because when the job seeker does a search, it defaults to searching within the last 30 days and they don't change that usually. So if you do want to post it longer, you can go in after 2 weeks, 3 weeks and just repopulate it. They'll go back to the top again. Okay? So that's just a quick overview of the job bank on the employer side and the job seeker side. It's a great, great resource. If you need help getting registered, or if you want a demonstration, I would be happy to come to your place of business and do it with you. Okay? And as far as the agencies go, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of these. We have basically 4 services programs through DEED. We have the business services targeted towards employers, which would provide information and support on financing, internships, all kinds of different things. The job service is kind of the job seeker side. We talked about some of that. Unemployment insurance. We have,
I'm really bad
so, I kind of jumped around. Unemployment insurance, we have the applicant side of it, and we have the employer side. And the website for unemployment is great for all those resources. So this is the DEED website. There's a tab for businesses. So if you're looking for a service, this is a great resource to use. It also has labor market information, salary information, all kinds of wonderful stuff on there. Yeah.
Data too.
Data, yes, lots of data. We also have a veteran services representative that comes to the office and works with veterans who may have barriers to finding employment. This is the unemployment website. If you're an employer, you've probably used this before. They do a lot of their contacts and submitting information through the website now. We just want you to be aware of those different websites and the services that are out there. If you have questions on any of them, please contact us and we can help you get to the person you need or answer the questions for you. Okay? So I'm going to turn it over to Beth Ann now so she can talk about AEOA.
Hi, my name is Beth Ann Satinsky and I work for AEOA. AEOA has numerous programs within the county, but we do have some that are just specifically at the Workforce Center. We have the Minnesota Family Investment Program and the Dislocated Worker Program, and they also are programs that NEMOJET offers, so Alyssa's going to speak on them. We have Adult Basic Education, and that is housed in the library at the Rainy River Community College. The 2 programs that I want to speak of are the Senior Community Service Employment. This program is for individuals that are 55 or older and fall into a certain income. They are placed in a position that is fit for them at a nonprofit location. They work 20 hours per week for up to 1 year, and the compensation for those positions are minimum wage or higher. And hopefully after that 1 year, that nonprofit is able to take them over. The main program that I'm here to talk about is Rural Rides. That is our newest program in Coochin County. A little background on how Rural Rides came is in January 2008, the Rural Rides project was developed by AEOA to address the most frequently mentioned and challenging barrier to employment, and that was reliable transportation. The purpose of the program is to assist persons with transportation barriers to obtain and maintain employment. The program is open to the public. There are some restrictions, but there is no income guideline. You just need to show a need for transportation. For example, if someone actually has a driver's license and has a running vehicle, insurance, it's tabs on it, but gas is expensive or they can't afford it, that is something that we could help provide transportation. So it doesn't mean that you just don't have a vehicle or you don't have a driver's license. There just has to be a need. Employment, or in order to qualify for Rural Rides, the rides have to be employment-based. That doesn't mean that it's just for jobs that where you go 9 to 5. It is more of if you are seeking employment, if you are going to the adult basic education classes and taking some kind of skills classes, if you are working on your GED. I do have some clients that come in and get rides for interviews. So as long as it's employment, we have people that come in too that are just seeking jobs that come in and use our computers and are looking for employment. So it's employment based. Options for the transportations are dial-a-ride, which is the bus, the taxi service, and there is a perception that the taxi is used all the time, but the taxi is used only when the bus is not running. We have a volunteer driver, and in our community, we don't use a lot of volunteer drivers, and one of the reasons is because we live in a smaller community. There is a mileage rate that is paid to the volunteer driver, but in Grand Rapids, they use about 60% volunteer drivers, but they also go to outlying areas of Grand Rapids. And we also have a work buddy program where if you have a coworker that is struggling to get to work, we do pay a mileage rate to help get your coworker to work. And that is, when I started in January, we only had 2, and now we're up to 6 work buddies, and that is a really good program to get people to work. An example of how many rides that we're providing. In March of 2016, 558 rides were provided to 33 clients. 300 rides were dial-a-ride, 230 were taxi, and 28 were work buddy situations. Of the 33 clients, 7 were new to the program. The program provided reliable transportation to people that otherwise may have not been able to get to their place of employment on time and lowered the risk of losing their employment. This program also helps people obtain and keep better solid employment. As we were walking out the door today, I had 3 clients call real quick and we had interviews and stuff like that. So I ran the numbers, and as of today, as I was walking out the door, we almost provided 850 rides for people that otherwise may not have been able to get to work. Rural Rides does really focus on getting people to work, but some of the other things that we do is, I've lined them up with getting them their driver's license, getting them the phone number, telling them the hours that they work, finding out how much it costs them to get their driver's license, or insurance, so it is primarily for rides, but the goal of this is to be transportation self-sufficient. So we do extend that help into getting them the transportation sufficient. So thank you.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming. I'm Alyssa. I'm going to talk to you just briefly about vocational rehabilitation. Voc Rehab is also referred to, abbreviated. It's a service we have. We don't have a counselor that is on site Monday through Friday. We do have 2 counselors that come up to the office, usually Mondays and Tuesdays, usually by appointment or as needed. It's Rainey and Patty, they're fabulous. We also have state services for the blind. We have an individual who comes up when needed. But basically what vocational rehabilitation does is if you have a certified disability, whether you are on Social Security or your Social Security is pending, or other eligibility requirements that they have or that they meet, they can specifically help you find work or help you become retrained in a career that in a career that maybe you need to switch careers. Like, for example, if you have a traumatic brain injury and you can't go back to the field you were in before because it's labor intensive, maybe you need to be retrained for something more like a desk job, accounting. So vocational rehab can assist with those things. Many people with disabilities still can work. It's just a matter of having somebody lead you down that right path, something that you're still interested in, that you're passionate about, and that's gonna make you some money. And just because you receive Social Security doesn't mean you can't also have some sort of income coming in, and they're really the experts to help you navigate all of that so you don't lose your Social Security, but you can also work. There is a website on a portion of the DEED website dedicated to vocational rehabilitation and disability services. So if you have any questions, feel free to refer people to this website or visit it yourself. You can also send them into the Workforce Center, and we will help them with some job search until we can get them connected to the counselor that comes up on the days they're here. So that is that program. So I am employed by the Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training along with Tammy. You may often hear us refer to it as NEMOJET because it's way easier to say. We quite possibly have the longest agency name in the history of Coochin County. But as Beth says, we offer the Family Investment Program, MFIP, Employment Services. What that is if you have a family who is eligible and receiving cash assistance in Coochin County, they are required to be working with an employment services specialist, such as Tammy, myself, or Ginger Ramos of AEOA. We contract with the county to provide these services for individuals. They are required through this program to do a certain number of hours of job searching, actual employment, working, or other required activities. So like going to school counts, working on their GED, attending Rainy River Community College, and they have to be reporting those hours and staying compliant with the program to continue receiving their cash assistance. So much like transportation self-sufficiency, the goal of the program is to have them be financially self-sufficient and work their way off of MFIP and those cash assistance and food assistance programs. We also offer Career Adventure. This is a NEMOJET initiative where we provide individual or group career counseling to any students of Coochin County, including at the college level. We've rolled this out pretty heavily at in the International Falls School, which we're really excited about. I'm working on getting it into just a little bit more than we are, and hopefully next year we can get into Little Fork and North Home. We do connect with those schools to provide services for specific students as the teachers at the school during an hour that they're free, that we're not taking over one of their core classes, and do some one-on-one counseling, provide some career assessments. What are you interested in? What are you good at? How does that translate into a job? Are you gonna make money at that job eventually? Are you gonna find employment in that industry? We talk about all those things with students. We can also do that in a group setting. So we will have teachers call us and actually work us into their curriculum so we can come into the classroom and do a resume writing workshop. We can do career assessments to a whole group of students versus just one at a time and really review those results together. So that's a really exciting thing we have. We have a huge book. It's like a 5-inch binder of resources that cover anything career related that you can think of. And then I think one of the busiest things we have are the dislocated worker program, adult low income program, and the youth program. The services we provide to those three groups are very similar, so I'm going to talk about them all at once. For youth to be eligible, you have to be considered at risk. So pregnant, parenting, involved in the juvenile system, have some sort of disability, being a special ed student makes you eligible. And it goes all the way up to age 24, which is really cool. We're focusing right now on students that are considered out of school. So those students that maybe have dropped out and want to become re-enrolled. Maybe they've graduated and are kind of just in limbo, they're not sure what they want to do. So that's where our push is right now. Adults, you have to be considered low income. So we look at your family size and your income for the past 6 months, and that determines whether or not you're eligible. We do follow the federal poverty guidelines. And then dislocated workers is everything from somebody who was just laid off yesterday to long-term unemployed, underemployed. So let's say you have a degree in something and there's no work to be found in that area. Or veterans. Veterans fall in the dislocated worker category as well. And there's really complicated eligibility requirements, so if you think you may qualify or know somebody, just send them our way and we can walk through those. But within this, if you qualify for one of these, you're no longer considered what Shayla called a universal worker or universal customer, excuse me. We actually enroll you into these programs, and we can provide funding on different levels. So we provide career counseling, really intensive one-on-one career counseling. Where are you gonna go and what do you need to get there? Training, We do have funding for things like short-term training, so CDL license and classes, GED training. It goes all the way, short-term can be considered up to 2 years. So we try and partner with the college as much as possible for the nursing programs, the industrial maintenance program. Those are all considered technical, anything that's not just your basic liberal education. And then also, one of the coolest programs we have is on-the-job training, where employers can hire one of these eligible customers, and if they agree to train them on the job, maybe they're missing a few key things that they need to do this work successfully, my agency can reimburse them up to 50% of their wages for up to 4 months maximum, depending on their skills gap. So that's really cool. We've had quite a few employers take advantage of that here since we've started talking about this more and more since the Boise layoff, and Tammy will touch on that a little bit more. Job search and relocation, money for traveling for job interviews. So if you have to go out of town, we have some mileage reimbursement dollars. Also relocation, so if you found a job and it pays a livable wage and you have to move yourself or your family and pay for a U-Haul, but you've been laid off for 6 months, who has the money for that? Well, we can help with some of those expenses. And support services are really cool. Let's say you're struggling to pay for daycare while you're looking for work, or you found a job and you don't have a paycheck yet, but you need to pay for daycare. We have some of those support services. Or while you're laid off, you can't pay your mortgage and now you have an eviction notice or a disconnect notice. We can help with some of those utilities in case of an emergency. And then I'll back up real quick. The work experience is youth and adult only. This is where a nonprofit preferably agrees to put to work for a certain number of hours or weeks a youth or an adult that we have enrolled. The most common program that we do this with is youth, where we have them working either in the schools round the school year, and we pay them $9 an hour, and they can work up to 10 hours a week during the school year. In the summer, it's about 32 hours a week would be our maximum amount. Tammy and I have a goal of every year we get our youth funding to somehow divide that funding so we're serving one student each of the 4 schools in Coochin County. And so far, so good. We've met that goal. But though all of the funding for these programs is based on what the state and the federal government provides us. So it's not always there. We are like a first come, first served basis. We keep waiting lists if we need to. The schools really fight for their students, which is really cool, but it makes it hard. But we serve as many as possible. And then we do have a website, just nemojet.org, that kind of talks about all of those services. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tammy, and she's going to talk about Boise and give you an update since it's been a few years.
3 years.
Yes.
My presentation does take about 15 minutes, so if we need to get back at one, I understand if you have to get up and leave. So it really is a history of how the Workforce Center has served the Boise dislocated worker, and we define someone who is laid off through no fault of their own as a dislocated worker. So May 2013, what I'm going to do is go through a timeline and point out some significant moments in this past 3-year period. May 2nd, 2013, of course, was the Boise layoff announcement. First and foremost, it was a shock to the person who lost their job. It was a shock to the community. And as you would imagine, in our small little workforce center, we were thinking, how do we prepare for this? 265 people laid off. What do we do? At that time, there were 2 career counselors, Sue Frake and Carol Stegmeyer, who each had 20-some years of service. A month or 2 before the Boise announcement, they were planning on retiring. And Carol graciously stepped aside, and Sue did retire, and I was hired at the end of June 24th, 2013. I immediately convinced Carol, you must stay, have to stay, and help me get through this. I don't know how I'm going to do this on my own, and she agreed to stay. So July 2013, I refer to this as the rapid response, because the state of Minnesota rapidly responded to this announcement. And Minnesota state leaders came to International Falls and met, I'm looking for Lori, we met right at the Boise work site and conducted 2-3 days of meetings where the worker knew they were going to be laid off. They were given a laid off letter and a layoff date, but they were still working. Their layoff date maybe would be October 1st. So they still had to work, and they came to these meetings and they learned about unemployment insurance and dislocated worker services. And they also learned about TAA, because it was right around this time that the federal government recognized that Boise, the impact or the layoff was due to foreign trade. So with that came federal funding to assist the dislocated worker. It was also around this time that our office, the Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training, secured the contract for state funding. So there's dislocated worker funding and federal funding. Together, 2 pools of money to help the laid off worker. Carol and I attended all of those rapid response meetings, and we encouraged, at the end of the meeting, we encouraged the workers to come to us and set up appointments. And so throughout the months of July, August, September, we were meeting face to face with a lot of the dislocated workers even prior to their layoff. So October 2013, the Workforce Center was an extremely busy place. For many, their layoff date was October 1st. And the Workforce Center was their first place of contact. They came looking for, how do I apply for unemployment insurance? And the Workforce Center staff, not just the MemoJet staff, but all of the staff helped the dislocated workers submit their online unemployment insurance application. And then while we had them at the Workforce Center, we said, now, have you visited with Tammy yet? Have you visited with Carol yet? And we had them sit down and we'll have a face-to-face conversation about what are you gonna do? What are you thinking you'd like to do? Are you gonna stay in the area? Are you looking at changing your career? Are you thinking, and out of that conversation, we maybe had some community referrals. We shared with them resources in the community that we knew would be helpful for them. And of course, we talked about job search strategy, because all of a sudden, things were looking pretty different. By the end of 2013, I remember Sheila being able to get some unemployment insurance data. We could say that about 45% of the 265 laid off had submitted an online application for unemployment insurance. So we had reached almost half of that population. And also around this time, the Office of Job Training could say that we had reached out and made contact with at least 55%. So we had gained a lot of ground and speed in a couple of months there. We also realized we needed more help. So we hired Renee Barr as our Boise liaison specialist. Renee herself was a laid-off worker from Boise, and she was a perfect fit. She was a face and a voice that the worker recognized, and she just made them more comfortable and encouraged them to take a closer look at all of the services. And it also was around this time, we still had Carol in the office. We didn't let her retire yet, but she was thinking about retiring. She was still thinking about it, and we hired Alyssa to take over her caseload. So then Carol had time to continue training me and train Alyssa. So the next few months were focused on providing supportive services. And in February of 2014, our targeted services were in full swing. We had a monthly support group organized. We had a monthly newsletter going out. We hosted a job fair. We had workshops regarding MNsure healthcare enrollment. We offered classroom or computer training. We established a Workforce Center Facebook page. And some of the Workforce Center staff at this point were involved in the Voyage Forward effort on the worker retention team. And we worked on creating a career development tab that can be found on the Voyage Forward website. Brad and there were lots of people that helped us with that. It's a great portion of the website that lists resources throughout the entire county, everything you could think of. So August 2014, these are the acronyms that were common day acronyms at the Workforce Center, and the dislocated worker understood them too. TAA, RTAA, and TRA. Whew, that's craziness. This is all related to the federal funding. And TAA really is the dislocated worker funding on steroids, because it's just bigger and better. It's more money for a longer period of time. And really it's about money spent on classroom training, new skill training. So if the dislocated worker was interested in learning something new, it's classroom training, online training, on-the-job training, which is a little different because with TAA on-the-job training, it could be up for 2 years. Officer job training's only 4 months maximum. So this is 2 years. Job search assistance and job relocation, so a lot of the same services. This RTAA wage subsidy, so that was for the dislocated worker who is age 50 or older, who found new employment that paid less than their Boise hourly wage. There would be a wage subsidy offered there. And then TRA is the unemployment insurance benefit that a dislocated worker student receives while in training. They have this new skill training, they're going to school full-time. If they maintain student progress, they will continue receiving a weekly UI unemployment insurance benefit. So that was all good. But then it was really in this time frame, from 2014 to 2015, we were noticing a lot of callbacks. And this sort of upset everybody's world. The dislocated worker who submitted that training plan was all ready to go to school August 2014, and then they get an offer to return to Boise. What do I do? What do I do? It was, I feel, a lot of times describe this whole process as like riding on a roller coaster, because it was just been up and down, and put the seatbelt on tight, and you're not sure what's going to happen with the next turn. And at this time, May 2015, was a good time for us to just pause and reflect and look at our numbers. So where is everybody? In August 2014, we were pretty sure where everybody was. They either found new work or were looking for work or had decided they were going to go back to school. And this was also when I submitted an article to the Daily Journal. So where are they now? And at that time, of the 265, this is an estimate. We believed that about 25% of them had decided to retire permanently. They're not interested in our services, not interested in looking for part-time work or anything. They're retired. Another 20% were recalled to Boise, and they took the call back, and they're working there now. Another 25% continued on with their training, and then the other 30% found new employment. And the good piece of news here is that we believe a lot of them found employment here. You know, some of them did move away, but a lot of people did find employment here. So what does that really tell us? I'm not sure, you know, we'd have to ask some of the people in realty what's happening, but if they've retired and they've been called back to Boise and they're at home on their computer doing online schooling, or they found employment in the county, a lot of them I think are still here, which is a good thing. I mean, we don't want to lose people. May 2016, here we are, and we have about 30 dislocated worker students who are newly skilled, and they are looking for employment. They are graduating next week and the following week, and they are trained in all sorts of areas: HVAC, plumbing, medical coding, engineering, industrial maintenance, registered nursing, law enforcement, accounting, criminal justice. I can't name them all, but that's just a few of them. And I want to point out that for many of them, this was a huge risk. They're an older student. They had to physically go on the campus and sit in the classroom next to a student that was only 16, 17, 18 years old, or they were at home doing online training for the first time. And their new life has been completely consumed for the last 2.5 years on this training that they're going through. And I'm really, really proud of them. And you know what? They're strong students. I've seen their training progress reports and I've seen their grades. They are excellent students that any instructor would want to have in their classroom. They're 3.50. Some of them are 4.0 straight grade point average. They're excellent students. So if you are a friend or a family member who knows someone, a dislocated worker who has gone through all of these changes, I just want to thank you for supporting them. And a huge thank you to Rainy River, because they have been a tremendous support, not only to the student, but to Alyssa and me as we are going through this process. You know, I don't know how many times I had to had to ask Emily billing questions because of the TAA funding, and then we've got the academic advisors that are helping us understand things, and Berta in the registrar's office, and on and on and on. So thank you to all of them, and then I also want to take a moment to thank any business or agency in the county that has supported a dislocated worker, because there are quite a few of them, and you may not know who they are. I'm not going to name exact names just because of the privacy and the nature, but I know that several agencies and businesses have signed these on-the-job training contracts, and so they have taken on a dislocated worker and have agreed to train them for 2 years. We also know that some of our students have already graduated with a one-year certificate, and they have found employment in bookkeeping, in medical coding, in maintenance. Some of them have decided to start their own business, so they're starting businesses here. And many students were required to complete an internship, and you have to have a business or an agency like Essentia Health agree to take on an internship, and they've done that. And some of those opportunities have led to part-time and even full-time employment. So this is all really, really, really good news. The other good news, well, you're probably wondering what happened to Carol, right? Well, we did let her retire. She finally got to retire in May 2014. But the awesome story here is that the Workforce Center staff, just prior to her retirement, got together and submitted a nomination to Minnesota D to consider recognizing her as the Dislocated Worker Counselor of the Year. And after they read her nomination and saw her many, many years of service to not just dislocated workers, but all the other programs, they decided to award her with the Lifetime Achievement Award. Wow. So she received that award right around the time she retired. That summarizes how the Workforce Center has served the Boise dislocated worker. So thank you very much.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions for any of the representatives here today? If not, I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you to the team for presenting excellent information, very useful and valuable. Thank you so much. I want to recognize one other individual that's relatively new to the chamber, and in case you have not met her, her name is Ashley Farmer. She's right here. She's our new administrative assistant. Yes. She's fantastic, and we're very fortunate to have her on our team. So if you haven't met her yet, take a moment to meet her on your way out. Plus, on your way out, I'll be standing by the door. Grab a couple, okay? Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day.